This girl was found frozen in ice after 6 hours, but what happened next shocked everyone and left doctors speechless. Jean Hillard was driving home during a blizzard in Minnesota when her car skidded into a ditch. Her friend lived nearby, so she started walking. It was negative 30 degrees outside and the wind was blowing into her face. She reached her friend's driveway but just couldn't go any further, and just 15 feet from his door she collapsed on the ground. She was in the snow for 6 hours and turned into a human icicle. Her friend came out and saw her like this, frozen and ghost-like. At the hospital she was so frozen doctors couldn't even open her mouth to put a thermometer. Her skin was so hard that a needle broke when they tried to put it in her. The doctors then decided to put warm packs of water around her body. And in just 6 hours with no amputations and no brain damage, she was conscious and speaking with her family. Welcome to ridiculous things going on around the world right now that for some reason you just haven't heard about, part 28. First, NASA is launching a mission to study an asteroid that is worth more than 10,000 quadrillion dollars. It contains so much precious metal that everyone on Earth would be a billionaire if its precious cargo was divided among mankind. NASA is set to launch in August 2022, and the spacecraft would arrive at the asteroid 4 years later in early 2026. Next, NASA is also looking to pay volunteers to spend a year living in a 3D printed Martian habitat. The fake Martian surface is located in Texas, and the paid volunteers will take place in a simulated Martian exploration mission complete with spacewalks. They will also have limited contact with their families and friends back home. Simulations on Earth will help NASA prepare for when they actually have people living on Mars.
The fucking world is $281 trillion in debt. To who? Who do we owe? Jupiter?
She is correct. The world has almost 8 times more debt than it has money. Global debt reached $281 trillion in 2021, but there's only around $37 trillion in circulation. So how can we owe more money than there is money in existence? If I lend you $10, then you're $10 in debt and you have $10 in cash. If you lend that same $10 to a friend, you created $20 of debt, but there's still only $10 available. Global debt is all the money owed by all the people, businesses, and governments in the world. That means almost 90% of the money out there isn't real. It's fake money that's made through all of this debt. Here are some famous places that have secret rooms that you didn't know about. And if you ever wanted to visit France, the last one is pretty amazing. First up, we have Mount Rushmore. Right behind Abraham Lincoln's head is a secret room. Right now, everything inside is in a titanium vault, but it contains the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, and the biography of the architect. Next up, we all know about the wonderful Disney Castle, but did you know that there's a luxury suite inside? The thing is, no matter how much you want to pay, you can't get in here unless you win the Disney lottery that happens once a year. And lastly, the architect of the Eiffel Tower built himself a secret room all the way at the top. Only he could access it, and he would have his friend Thomas Edison over all the time. Also, below the Eiffel Tower were some other secret rooms that weren't so good because the Germans would use it during World War II to torture prisoners. Unbelievable stories that sound fake but are 100% real, part 3. In the 1950s, church was a huge part of life for everybody living in Beatrice, Nebraska. Beatrice was a small town, so not only did everybody go to the same church, but a bunch of people participated in the choir. Choir practice started at 7:20 p.m. sharp every single day, and no one ever missed it. So when the church priest was running a little bit behind on March 1st, 1950, it was kind of a big deal. The priest's family had just finished up eating dinner at 7:10, but his daughter spilled something on her dress and she had to clean it up. While she was getting ready, the clock passed 7:20 and they were officially late, but little did they know that their daughter's clumsiness had actually saved their lives. At approximately 7:25 p.m. there was a gas leak inside of the church and it blew up. Minutes later, the fire department was searching for bodies in the rubble, but they never found any. Because by some miracle, all 15 choir members were running late, and this article explains why each person was running behind. 5 days ago, these two girls made a TikTok saying they found a dead body in the morning, but the thing is, they weren't lying. 2 girls from Texas, aged 17 and 16, made a Snapchat of them stealing jewelry off of the dead body of a man they found in a drainage ditch. In the video, Bethany Martin, the 17-year-old, took the necklace off of the man's corpse and gave it to her friend who was recording. The younger teen told police that she put the medallion on her own gold necklace because it matched her fashion style. Both girls have been charged with theft to a human corpse, and police believe the man's death was a suicide. These people literally stretch their own skulls. Back in the 15th century, the Incas practiced something called cranial deformation. They would tightly wrap string around their babies' heads so their skull would stretch as they grew. This resulted in cone-shaped heads, which was a sign of beauty in their tribes. And this tradition was known as Limpumbo. This is the only known man to be both dead and alive at the same time. His name is Riliu Constantine, and in 1992 he left Romania to go to Turkey for work. He then was out of contact from his family for 10 years, and his wife assumed he was dead. So she went ahead and got a death certificate. And the man had no idea, but one day he was deported from Turkey back to Romania because his passport had expired. So he planned on just renewing it and going back to Turkey. But as soon as he landed, he was detained and informed that he had died back in 2003. So of course he went to the courts to overturn it. But the court said that he was too late to appeal it, and as far as they were concerned, he was officially dead. And now he can't get a passport, a driver's license, or even a job. Shia LaBeouf went way too far when filming these two movies, and here's why. Just a day after being casted into the movie Fury, he literally joined the United States National Guard, and he spent a whole month on a real military base. He then cut his own face, creating a real scar. And then the man pulled out his own tooth. And he did all of this without showering for 4 whole months. But hold up, Shia LaBeouf's craziness doesn't stop there. For his movie The Tax Collector, instead of just getting makeup, he actually tattooed his entire chest. Leonardo DiCaprio went way too far when filming the movie The Revenant, and here's why. First off, he actually lived in the frozen outdoors during the entire filming of the movie and even slept in animal carcasses just to try to stay warm. And Leonardo DiCaprio, who is a die-hard vegetarian, actually ate raw bison liver and raw fish during the filming of this movie. And for filming, he would have to go for regular swims in frozen rivers. And during filming, he was enduring freezing cold and possible hypothermia consistently, which actually led him to getting the flu many times during filming. This looks like a scene from a movie, but it is actually what parts of Western Europe look like right now. Record rainfall has caused deadly floods that has killed hundreds of people and has thousands more missing. The rising waters are also causing landslides, power outages, and has put entire cities underwater. More than 1,000 soldiers have been deployed to help with rescue and clear up operations. Floods of this size have not been seen in over 1,000 years in the region, and extreme weather events like this are becoming more and more common. This is just the latest sign of a global warming crisis that we have to take way more seriously before it gets so bad we can't fix it. Here are the most bizarre mysteries and crimes that were solved by using Google Earth. In 2019, a man named Barry Fay was playing around on Google Earth when he saw a strange figure in a large pond. When police searched the pond, they discovered a submerged car containing the skeletal remains of William Malt, who had disappeared without a trace after leaving a nightclub 22 years prior. A Google Street View driver was horrified when a member of a gang pointed a shotgun at him. When this was spotted on Google Street View later that year, police went to the home, and what they found inside was even more horrific. They discovered the dead body of a 1-year-old baby girl in a closet. A 14-year-old boy was riding his bike one day when suddenly 2 men ambushed him and stole his bike, phone, and cash. But thankfully, 6 months later, the thieves were identified in this Google Street View photo, which was taken literal moments before the attack took place. This rapper actually predicted the coronavirus in 2013. The rapper's name is Dr. Creep, and he has been going viral recently because of a song he released back in 2013. The song is called Pandemic, and I'm just gonna play it for you and you'll understand why everyone is going crazy over it. Yup, so 8 years ago he said 2020 combined with coronavirus. And what's also super creepy is that we don't know anything about him. The only pictures he posts of himself is him hiding his face in a gas mask. Now, many people think he's either a time traveler or part of the government or someone trying to warn us about things that are going to happen in the future. This man claimed to be from a country that doesn't exist, and some people say his story could be proof of a parallel universe. In July of 1954, a businessman entered a Tokyo airport and was asked for his passport, which he then handed over. His passport said he was from a country named Torad, and it looked 100% legit and even had stamps from other countries. But the country of Torad doesn't exist. Trying to understand the situation, the customs officers brought out a map and had him point to where the country of Torad was, and he pointed right here. He pointed to the country we know of as Andorra, and this perplexed the man, and he said the map was wrong. And what's even crazier is that the man said he had flown from Torad to Tokyo many times in the past. Since security couldn't verify where this man was from, they detained him and put him in a hotel and put guards at the door. The guards never left the door, but the next morning the mysterious man, along with his belongings and passport, had disappeared. The Australian army once lost a war against the emus, and you won't believe how. In 1932, 20,000 emus, which are big flightless birds, invaded farms in Western Australia and were causing widespread crop devastation. Things got so bad that the Australian army officially declared war against the emus. But the war only lasted a month and resulted in Australia losing, and here's how. First reason is that emus are basically bulletproof since their organs only make up a small part of their body, so it would take 10 bullets just to take out one of them. Next is emus have the strongest legs of any animal and can run 35 miles per hour, and they can change direction so fast men in trucks couldn't keep up. Next, they can jump 7 feet straight in the air and they can shred apart metal fences with their talons. Next, they were way smarter than anyone thought. They would have lookout groups that would stand guard and warn the others if they saw soldiers approaching. If you see a roof like this, you should probably stay away from the house. You see, this house is obviously hotter than the houses around it, which is why the snow melted. But you might be asking, so what? Well, when drug dealers are growing marijuana, the lights they use for the plants get very hot, and since the heat rises, it melts the snow on the roof. So for legal reasons, I'm gonna tell you to stay away from these houses. This man received a life sentence just for stealing a slice of pizza. Back when Jerry Dwayne Williams was 27, he was on the beach getting drunk with a friend. They decided to play a game of truth or dare, and Jerry was dared to go steal a slice of pizza from some nearby kids. However, he was arrested for this crime and sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. But this is clearly an insane sentence, so why was it given? Well, as it turns out, Jerry had some priors for robbery and unauthorized use of a vehicle. This meant that with the pizza theft, he fell under the purview of the 1993 three-strike law, which was a law put in to heavily punish repeat offenders. But thankfully, 5 years into his sentence, he was able to overturn it and was released from prison. But it's crazy to think that he still served 5 years in prison just for stealing a slice of pizza. Here are the unbelievable ways that Ted Bundy escaped prison not once, but 2 times. Ted Bundy is one of America's most horrifying serial killers, possibly killing upwards of 40 young women. Because Bundy was representing himself in his trial, he had the right to use the prison library to study law. When he got to the library, he jumped from the second-story window of the building and ran straight for the mountains. But 6 days after his escape, Bundy was back in custody. When he was recaptured, he starved himself and lost 20 to 25 pounds. This made him thin enough to slide through the bars in his cell and climb out through the roof. After escaping this time, he made his way to Florida where he killed his 3 final known victims. A little more than a month after the 3 murders, he was arrested for the final time. And in 1989, Bundy was executed by electric chair, and tons of people celebrated at his execution by wearing t-shirts saying "Burn Bundy" and "The Bundy Barbecue." Welcome to ridiculous things going on around the world right now that for some reason you just haven't heard about, part 27. A prototype of this flying car logged its first 35-minute flight between 2 airports in Slovakia a week ago. The inventor says it hit a cruising speed of 106 miles per hour and it can reach heights of 8,200 feet. But if you think that's cool, check this out. It can transform from an aircraft into a car in 2 minutes and 15 seconds. It took 2 years to build and cost just under $2.4 million, which honestly isn't that bad for a legit flying car. The airline industry hates this man, and I'm gonna tell you why. This man's name is Steven Rothstein, and he's an absolute genius. In 1987, Steven bought a lifetime first-class ticket for $250,000. He then used the ticket and took over 10,000 flights, which costed the company over $21 million. However, they terminated his ticket in 2008 because of how much he was flying. This woman did you-know-what with 919 men in one single day. Lisa Sparks set this record back in 2004 at the annual World Championships in Poland. She was competing against 2 other women, one of which was the current record holder who did you-know-what with 759 people in one day. But the craziest part is Lisa set this record in only 12 hours, meaning she only spent 45 seconds with each man. These are the strangest graves in the entire world, part 2. On the Tanah Toraja Island, children that die before teething are buried in what they call baby trees. Mothers wrap the babies in a cloth and make a hole in the tree. The baby is then placed in the tree and the hole is sealed off. Ray Jr.'s dream in life was owning a Mercedes-Benz. Sadly, he died at the young age of 15, so his wealthy big brother built a full-size Mercedes-Benz for his grave. Rufus Case wanted to be buried on his rocking chair facing his home state of Louisiana. Sadly, one of his children died before him, so when he passed, they buried him sitting next to his child's coffin. But the good news is he was buried on his rocking chair facing his home. These are the strangest graves in the entire world. This grieving mother added a sandbox to her little boy's grave who had passed away unexpectedly. And now his older brother plays in it every single day. This is the gravesite of a boy who died of an incurable illness in 1865. A few hours before he died, he told his dad he was scared of death because he knew they were going to bury him underground with no lights. So the parents honored his wish and put a window in his tomb. After her daughter died of yellow fever in 1892, a grieving mother wanted to make sure that her little girl was never alone. You see, her daughter was absolutely terrified of storms. So she constructed a staircase that goes directly down into her tomb. Every time there was a thunderstorm, that mother would go to the graveyard and sit with her daughter for hours, comforting her in her grave. Welcome to ridiculous stuff going on around the world right now that for some reason you just haven't heard about. Part 16. A volcano that scientists are saying is destroying everything in its path just erupted for the second time in 4 days. The volcano we are talking about is located on St. Vincent Island. On Friday of last week, the volcano erupted, which forced 16,000 people to evacuate their homes. But literally today, it erupted again, and this time it was way worse than the first eruption. The eruptions have covered the entire island under thick layers of ash and debris and have cut all water and power supplies to everyone. Supplies are so scarce that the government is being forced to drill into the ground for fresh water. People are starting to be evacuated on cruise ships as scientists warn the eruptions could continue for days or even weeks. Welcome to ridiculous stuff going on around the world right now that for some reason you just haven't heard about. Part 15. Scientists just observed under a glacier called the Doomsday Glacier and found some very bad news. Just yesterday, scientists discovered that the glacier's supply of warm water is larger than previously believed. That means that it is melting faster than we originally thought. And the reason that you should care is because the Doomsday Glacier is 119,000 square miles, which is this big when you compare it to the UK. And if it collapses completely, it would raise sea levels around the globe by 2 to 3 feet, which in turn would cause severe weather events to reach further inland than ever before. The only way we can stop it from melting so fast is if we address climate change and stop ignoring it like it isn't happening. And just to be safe, we should put up seawalls in certain places. Welcome to ridiculous stuff going on around the world right now that for some reason you just haven't heard about. Part 13. So we all remember the monoliths that were appearing all over the place in 2020, right? Well, now they are starting to appear in 2021 as well. This new monolith was found in southeastern Turkey right next to a 12,000-year-old temple. The 10-foot tall metal monolith had an ancient Turkish script inscribed into it. That said, look at the sky, you will see the moon. The strangest part of all of this is that right after the monolith was discovered, it was surrounded by armed military guards. The Turkish military was apparently protecting the monolith from any threats, whatever that means. And then 4 days after it was found, the monolith and the military that was protecting it were gone. This driver gets a strange feeling about a boy on the bus, and then he looks at his feet and sees it, part 2. When Watson looked at what the boy was wearing, it matched the description of the missing boy perfectly. Now that Watson for sure knew the missing boy was on his bus, he made a discreet call to the police. The police told Watson to continue his normal route but drive slowly. As Watson continued to drive, he saw he was being followed by a few cop cars. Then as Watson reached the end of the route and the bus came to a full stop, the police jumped into action. Before I continue, I found this app where you can grow your own baby. Links in my bio if you want to try too. When the bus came to a stop, the police immediately apprehended the kidnapper, who was 23-year-old Alfonso Eddington. And Tim Watson was recognized as a local hero, and the boy was reunited with his parents. This driver gets a strange feeling about a boy on the bus, and then he looks at his feet and sees it. Tim Watson was a bus driver driving along his regular route on July 5th, 2015. On this day, a man boarded the bus with a boy he'd never seen before. When they sat down, the boy instantly started crying, but to Watson it didn't seem like a typical temper tantrum. The man tried to get the boy to keep quiet, even telling him to go to sleep, but still the boy continued to cry. This gave Watson a strange feeling. There was something about this boy's sadness that didn't feel right. Watson felt like he needed to keep an eye on the situation, so as he drove, he would use his mirrors to look back at the boy. That's when the company that Watson worked for called him. They were alerting all bus drivers of a child abduction that happened earlier that morning. The alert said the missing boy was wearing red Crocs. So Watson checked the boy's shoes, and you won't believe what happened next, like for part 2. A new monolith was discovered on Christmas, and this has to be the strangest one because of what it's made of. This new monolith is 8 feet tall and is completely made of real gingerbread and icing. It was first spotted the morning of Christmas in San Francisco's Corona Heights Park. Sadly, after only like 2 days, it has already been taken down by the San Francisco Park Department. This symbol is known as the Universal S, and I guarantee you've seen it or have drawn it before. But have you ever wondered where this symbol came from and how people from all around the world all recognize it? A YouTuber named Let Me Know spent 5 years researching the origins of it, and this is what he found. After 5 years of researching, Let Me Know found a book published in 1890 that showed the S symbol. The book was titled Mechanical Graphics and was written by Frederick Wilson, who taught geometry at Princeton University. So perhaps this is the school where it all began. Since Frederick Wilson was an expert on scripted geometry and technical drawing, it is speculated that he might have taught his students this neat trick on how to draw a symmetrical S. But still, after years of researching, the origins are still not 100% confirmed, and we may never know exactly where it came from.
A fourth monolith has been found, this time in England.
That is actually the 5th official monolith, and let me explain what I mean by official. Obviously, this monolith trend started with the one in Utah. Then there was one in Romania, then one in California, then one in downtown Las Vegas, and now the one in Britain, England. When I said this was the 5th official monolith, what I meant was these 5 monoliths I just mentioned are the ones everyone is talking about. But that doesn't include the tens, if not hundreds of other ones that have been shared on TikTok. Like this one that was seen in Italy, or this one in New Mexico, or this one in Canada, or like this one that's really short and has rating on it. So what I'm saying is, don't be surprised if you see more and more monoliths just start appearing all over the place. This is the 4th monolith to appear, and this one is the least surprising one yet, and here's why. This new 10-foot monolith is located on Fremont Street in downtown Las Vegas. The reason this monolith is the least surprising one is because this one is clearly just a cash grab. Due to COVID, the tourism numbers in downtown Vegas are down by more than half. And downtown casinos have reported a 35% drop in revenue compared to last year. This monolith was clearly placed here to bring more people to downtown Vegas, and in result, the casinos and local businesses will make more money. Let me know what you think.
A third monolith has appeared.
So by this point, I've already made 2 videos on the monolith, but now a third one showed up, so let's talk about them all. On November 18th, a monolith was discovered by Utah state officials, and it mysteriously vanished 9 days later. On November 27th, which is the same day the Utah monolith disappeared, a monolith appeared in Romania and only lasted 4 days before it also vanished. On December 2nd, which was the day after the Romanian one vanished, a new monolith appeared in California and has reportedly already disappeared. And still, no one knows who is planting these or who is taking them down, but don't be surprised if more start appearing.
Of 2 years on that
Bruh.
count as well.
So I think it's safe to say that everyone has seen the original bruh meme, but have you ever wondered who this man is and why he got arrested? I did some research and found out that this is Tony Farmer, and he was arrested back in 2012 at the young age of 17. He got arrested after he got violent with his ex-girlfriend, and he was charged with domestic abuse and kidnapping. He got 3 years in jail and became the infamous bruh meme.
Bruh.